Good evening, everyone. Before our regularly scheduled meeting, we have a public hearing on the CDBC application. Ms. Nugent, if you would come up to the podium, please.
Thank you, Council President. As you know, Chris Stetler usually handles this, but she's on vacation, so she asked me to take her place, and since we've been working together for almost 25 years, she thought I could handle it. I'm going to hand around a clipboard, and anyone here, if you could please write your name and address. This has to be submitted with the application. This year, the application is going to be made for over $125,000. In the past, those funds have been predominantly for housing rehabilitation, also for curb ramp, for accessibility. The average cost of housing rehab is now over $28,000, and this is for a couple of reasons. We have to not only test for lead-based paint, but also radon and remediate it. And we also have to use prevailing wage for any job over $25,000, so that just increases the price. The kinds of things that we can do with the money, if people are eligible by income, and I do have a copy of the income requirements if anyone would like to see them. We do anything to bring a home into code conformance. So things like roofs, windows, doors, heaters, electric, plumbing. We do some kitchens, we do some bathrooms. We do accessibility work. Also, as I said, test for radon and also lead-based paint, and we do some cement work as well. If any of you have any comments about how you feel the money should be used, you can submit those in writing, and they will be accepted up until October the 10th. There will be another hearing on Wednesday, October the 3rd at 7 p.m. I think that's the next council meeting. Does anyone have any questions about the program? We've done, by the way, 11 homes in the last 18 months, and in the last 25 years, there have been hundreds. So it's a really good program.
No, very good.
That was easy.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy.
By the authority invested in me, I hereby declare this meeting of the Conshohocken Borough Council duly open and ready to conduct any business that may come before it. Roll call.
Councilmember Tutino.
Present.
Councilmember Griffin.
Here.
Councilmember Sokolowski.
Here.
Councilmember Barton. Absent. Councilmember Stokely. Absent. Vice President Flanagan.
Present.
President Leonard.
Here.
Mayor Aronson.
Here.
Please rise to the Borough Council.
O divine Master, in deep humility we place ourselves, our thoughts, and our plans in thy hands. We beg thee to fill our minds and our wills with the gift of wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, and piety. Help us not to think of self or personal desires, but rather consider the responsibilities laid upon us. Help us to promote as far as possible the welfare of our people and to treat them with impartiality and justice. Grant us the power to set a good example in thought, word, and deed, so that thy blessings will be showered upon us and the people we represent. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before this evening's meeting, Council did have a information meeting. We also had an executive session on property matters on September 12th, 2018. The first item on the agenda is approve and adopt the July 25th special meeting, August 1st, and August 15th meeting minutes. The second is to approve the August ending treasurer's report and accounts payable. So I would need two motions.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, for the record, the motion is to approve consent items A and B with accounts payable in the amount of $623,258.68. The second is a motion to consider approving the August 31st, 2018 Obermeyer invoice for special counsel legal services for the E.F. Moore site and Seven Tower Bridge site in the amount of $64,735.29.
I'll make the motion to approve the treasurer's account.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The second item on unfinished business is consider adopting the ordinance number 04-2018, Historical Residential Conservative Overlay District Ordinance Amendment. Mr. Peters?
Thank you, Madam President. If we could go on the record, please. This is the scheduled date and time for a hearing on the ordinance titled An Ordinance of the Borough of Conshohocken, Montgomery County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending the Borough of Conshohocken zoning ordinance as codified at Chapter 27 of the Conshohocken Borough Code by repealing in its entirety Part 19C HC Historic Conservation Overlay District and adopting a new Section 19-C to conserve historic single-family detached dwellings within the borough's residential zoning districts, repealing inconsistent ordinances and parts of ordinances, containing a savings clause, and providing for an effective date. Initially, I'll note for the record that there are 4 board exhibits. Board Exhibit 1 is the ordinance itself. Board Exhibit 2 is the proof of publication. Board Exhibit 3 is the report from the Conshohocken Planning Commission attaching a red-line version of the ordinance with the Planning Commission's changes. And Board Exhibit 4 is the September 14th, 2018 report of the Montgomery County Planning Commission. Procedurally, this matter was advertised twice, first on September 5th, 2018, and second on September 12th, 2018 in the Times Herald. It was sent to the Montgomery County Planning Commission on August 16th, 2018. The Planning Commission approved the ordinance on July 12th, 2018. In terms of time periods and procedural matters, all procedures have been complied with, and the ordinance is ready for your consideration this evening. We've talked about this ordinance several times. We talked about it first before I drafted it, second after I drafted it, and then the third time after the Planning Commission reviewed it. So you are very familiar with the ordinance. For purposes of the record, Council first adopted an HRC overlay ordinance on March 15th, 2017. Subsequent to adoption, it was implemented for over a year, at which time stakeholders in the borough began reporting back that they were experiencing issues with the ordinance, and specifically the additions and alterations provision requiring a conditional use for additions and alterations to single-family homes was actually turning away families from buying those properties because they were faced with cost and a procedure immediately that is directly contrary to our comprehensive plan. So we took steps to inform Borough Council as to what we were finding. You gave us authorization to draft a new ordinance, and that is what we did. In addition to the alteration issue, administration identified an issue with the demolition provisions of the ordinance. All demolitions were treated the same for purposes of the ordinance. We didn't have separate provisions at that time for demolitions required for purposes of safety and demolition required for any other purpose. In the comprehensive plan update that you adopted in June of 2018, it contains several references, I counted at least 6 of them, to preserving the single-family housing stock within the borough. It also, on page 4, encouraged the adoption of more comprehensive guidelines for demolition of existing single-family detached dwellings. This ordinance establishes both. It has been reviewed by stakeholders in the borough, specifically developers in the borough, who had an opportunity to provide feedback and found it much more manageable the way it is currently drafted. So just for the record, again, we're talking about an ordinance that deals with conversion and demolition of historic single-family detached dwellings. In this ordinance, the definition of historic single-family detached dwelling has been amended so that it is a flexible time period. So previously, it had been any home constructed in 1967 or before. We have changed that, so it is any single-family detached dwelling constructed 50 years ago, so it slides as the years go by. We removed the conditional use requirement for expansion and alteration of single-family detached dwellings. As long as the purchaser or the owner of the property is going to continue to use it for a single-family detached dwelling, they now may do so by right. They, of course, have to comply with the underlying requirements of the zoning district, including the area and bulk requirements. We amended the demolition provisions to provide for by right permitted demolition of structurally unsafe buildings, and that determination is to be made by the borough building official. We then added regulations for demolition of historic single-family detached dwellings for any other reason. For any other reason, and that could be financial reason, dilapidation but not unsafe condition or otherwise, we provide a list of application contents and a list of conditional use criteria in the ordinance. For conversion of historic single-family detached dwellings, this would be a circumstance where a property owner is attempting to turn a single-family detached dwelling either into a dwelling with more units, so either a twin or a three-bedroom, or any number of different scenarios. And also, if they were trying to turn it from residential to some other use like retail, commercial, office, and the like. Then again, we provide specific procedures for the application requirements, and we also provide specific conditional use requirements in this ordinance. The ordinance then contains our standard repealer clause, savings clause, and effective date clauses. It was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, again with certain edits. Those edits are in the version that you have for your review. The Montgomery County Planning Commission had additional comments. All of the comments upon review were considered and addressed by staff and by my office when we first drafted this. So I have no recommended changes as a result of their comments. It may be in the future that we find some of this helpful, but for now, I think we've created an ordinance that should work the way that it's supposed to. So with that, are there any questions or comments from council? And any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, if council is so inclined, they may this evening adopt this ordinance. It would be by motion to adopt the ordinance as presented during this hearing.
I'll make a motion to adopt this ordinance. I'll second. Oh.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Peters.
You're
Do I
welcome.
need to read that?
I'm sorry?
I don't need to read that again, right? We're good.
And with that, we will go off the record. Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is consider the adoption of the Halloween Parade as a borough special event per administration's recommended event logistics, where Mr. Sokolowski.
Yeah, I always do, yeah.
The logistical issues with the Halloween parade are basically taken care of. It'll go from number 2 firehouse to Washi's firehouse. It'll start at 3:30. There'll be registration for kids and adults and pets. With the help of the dog park committee, they'll have a table set up so they can register pets for the Halloween parade too. It'll go down to number 2. Food will be provided there. Councilman Stokely will be donating hot dogs for the kids. We'll have candy. We'll have everything else. And we have a line item that we'll be able to take the budgeted money for. So everything falls into place with this. Should be about a 2-hour or so event.
Okay.
For us, it won't be a big deal.
Anyone in council have any questions? Thank you,
Okay.
Ray. I'd also like to thank the administration for their hard work in getting this prepared in a short amount of time. I know everyone appreciates it.
Actually, Colleen, can you
Yes.
confirm, when we spoke about this 2 weeks ago, it was tying or not tying to the Fellowship House and the pumpkin?
No, the
That's a
times were different.
Right,
Okay.
that would be something that we could look to in the future. For this year, because of the time period,
Okay,
this seemed the best possible way and administration
okay,
to do it.
all
Oh, you're welcome. So on that, I will need a motion to adopt the Halloween parade as a borough special event.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is consider approving resolution,
You're right. 2018.
right. I know, I got it. There's something else here. Consider approving resolution 2018-18, authorizing the creation of procedures and requirements for the recognition of a long-term borough resident aged 100 years or older. So, would need,
We went over this resolution at your last meeting in
Right.
depth. There's no need to go back over it. My only comment is that we did decide if an individual reaches 100 years of age, 25 years of residency in the borough is good enough. So there was a discussion of requiring some more, but it is 100 years or older and 25 years of residence in the borough to qualify. And it is prepared for your adoption this evening.
Okay, so you need a motion?
Yes.
do you need a motion?
I would be happy to make that motion.
I would second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda, Jane, if you would go to the podium, please, is the 101 birthday proclamation for William Bud Riley.
So, introduce yourself, is there, because she's not coming up today? Come on up. Introduce yourself to everyone.
Good evening, council, and everyone here. My name is Mary Ann Cook, and this is my sister Kathleen Cohen, and we're Bud Riley's nieces. So thank you again for this great honor tonight you're bestowing on him. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. So, I don't have my glasses, so this might be a little challenging. A proclamation recognizing the 101st birthday of Mr. William Bud Riley. Whereas it is the intention of Conshohocken Borough and the mayor to focus attention on noteworthy occasions and individuals. Today, friends and family have gathered to honor and celebrate Conshohocken Borough resident William Bud Riley as he turns 101. Whereas Bud was born in 1917 on September 13th and has been a resident of the community for 91 years. Bud had 4 sisters and 1 brother. He is the last member of his generation. He has 7 nieces and nephews, and whereas Bud attended St. Matthew's Elementary School and St. Matthew's High School, he received an associate's degree in accounting from the Wharton School of Business. And whereas Bud is a lifelong member at St. Matthew's Church and has been an active member of the St. Vincent de Paul Society for 30 years, and whereas during World War II, Bud served in the Army in induction camps. And whereas Bud worked at Allenwood Steel Mill for 42 years. He started as a call boy and eventually became director of scheduling at the plate mill. And whereas Bud is an avid sports fan, at St. Matthew's Elementary School and High School, Bud played baseball and basketball. While in the Army, Bud played baseball with 2 teams with members from the Phillies Athletics. Bud supports all Philadelphia professional sport teams and especially loves Villanova basketball and football teams. And now, therefore, the Borough of Conshohocken recognizes and honors Mr. Bud Riley for his long life and prosperity, and we wish him many more. Proclaimed on this 19th day of September, year 2018. So, congratulations.
The next item on the agenda is consider a motion to authorize advertisement for the proposed amendment of the SP-4 zoning ordinance. Mr. Peters?
Thank you, President Leonard. This is another effort to continue to immediately jump on to working under your new comprehensive plan. Your comprehensive plan encourages, at page 108, among its goals, researching it and encouraging LEED certified development. That's leadership in energy and environmental design development. As council is aware, LEED development is significantly more expensive than normal development, but there are significant environmental benefits to LEED development. you have an opportunity for, within the SB4 district, to encourage LEED development. The trade-off would be to have all the mechanicals in these buildings for a LEED certified development. They simply require more space for the actual mechanicals on each floor between between the ceiling and the next floor. We received a petition from the owner and the applicant of the property that we all know as the Sora West development. That request and petition was for a zoning amendment. As council is aware, you can't just amend for one property owner, so this would apply to the entirety of the SP4 district. The benefit of that, though, is if you want to encourage LEED development, what we're proposing here is an interesting way to handle it. So the proposal would be to amend the ordinance in the circumstance of a LEED development to increase the maximum height from 180 feet to 190 feet. Staff has met and literally done the calculations to determine whether or not you could have a building of normal size and meet the 180 feet and do LEED development, and we couldn't figure it out either. So to the extent you'd like to encourage LEED development, this is, again, a good way to do it. There are some requirements that we impose, however. The mechanicals, to the extent that they're going to violate the height requirement, and keep in mind that in your other SP districts, mechanicals are not included in height. That is not the case in SP4, which is why we're limiting and setting requirements to increase the height. They are, one, to set back the mechanicals from the primary facade a distance of no less than 20 feet. Two, the mechanicals cannot be visible from the rights-of-way immediately adjacent to the building. And three, to the extent architectural features are used, they must be consistent with the design materials, quality, and finish of the remainder of the building. The second part of this ordinance, given the realities of Fayette Street and the topography, now that we actually have someone operating under the terms of the SP4 district, in terms of the internal walls, all walls are limited currently, and these are, for example, retaining walls, to no more than 10 feet visible above the ground. On the interior of the sites along Fayette Street, we've run into an issue where to make it flat and usable, you simply need more than 10 feet in height. So the second proposal in this amendment is to increase the maximum wall height on the interior of the site, and only in areas of it's come up in areas of service and our loading areas, which makes sense because, as you know, they're dug down in up to 13 feet in height. And again, it should be the requirement is that they be designed with articulation or other features to mitigate the height. So this has been reviewed by staff. Staff has worked extensively with the petitioner. It's significantly changed from the original version that was sent in. And the major changes were, again, to require LEED development, and two, to make sure that there are no actual effects as a result of the amendment. So tonight, all you're doing is authorizing advertisement. We'll go through a hearing just like we did at the beginning of this at your second meeting in October.
Okay. So we will need a motion to authorize advertisement of the proposed amendment to the SP4 zoning ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Very good. We'll keep working it through the process.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is consider a request for extension of land development approval for 204 East 8th Avenue. Mr. Peters again?
Yep, I'll take this one as well. 204 East 8th Avenue, this was approved back in September 2015. Your zoning ordinance contains a 3-year limitation for development. The applicant is actively moving forward with development. They are in the middle of a check set review with your borough engineer. They have also executed a demolition agreement, but they missed pulling a permit they're ready to pull any day, but they haven't done it yet. So in order to continue moving forward with their project, all they need from council is an extension of time. I indicated that extension would not be for another 3 years, that it would be for no more than 6 months, to which the developer agreed. And again, as soon as they pull their demolition permit, this becomes a non-issue because they vest in their plan. So the motion would be to approve the request for an extension of the land development approval for 204 East 8th for a period of 6 months.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is consider approving a fire prevention demonstration and fire prevention week. The fire department is to host a fire prevention demonstration on October 11th from 7 to 9 p.m. Additional details pertaining to the event will be posted on the Borough website. So for this event, I would need a motion to approve the proposed fire prevention demonstration.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The last item on the agenda is consider authorizing the tuition reimbursement for Sergeant Shane Murray. We need a motion to authorize the tuition reimbursement.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Public comment?
On anything? Okay, thank you.
Open mic.
I spoke with Ray earlier today. My name's Ed Zale. I live at 200 West Elm Street. I was here in February, and I spoke to you folks about a sidewalk, lining of a sidewalk, not a sidewalk, a crosswalk at Washington Avenue and Henry, is it Henry? Right where the train station is. And you folks didn't seem to think that was going to be a problem. You said when the guys are out, the crews are out doing that, that shouldn't be a problem. But I think he needs approval from this crew to have that done. Is that correct?
No, it's on the schedule.
Oh, it's on the schedule. Like I said, I spoke with him today. He was very helpful, said he'd try to have it done, no problem. May I approach? Do you folks get any revenue whatsoever from the trucks coming across the bridge and going up Elm Street and down Conshohocken State Road? Do you get any revenue? You just get,
Only tangentially if they're somehow benefiting the businesses.
if there's what?
Only tangentially if they're benefiting the businesses in town.
Okay. So there's anywhere from 193 to 257 trucks per day going each way, because I live at the Grand. Fortunately, I don't live on the first floor, I'm upstairs. But the poor people who live on the 300 block of Elm Street, how they haven't come screaming to you, I don't know. So let's just say there's an average of 200 trucks twice a day going back and forth. That's what they do to the road. Those pictures were taken in February. The state crew must have come out, they must have gotten complaints from people besides me, and they patched them up at the end of March. But that's what happened. I've lived there 7 years. Every 18 months, that's what happens. Then they come with the blacktop, fill them in with the rain and the thaw and the snow and the frost. That's what happens. It's right in front of St. Mary's Church, and then you go down another block into the 300 block. And the road is like this. I've talked to Mary Jo Daly, the state rep. She says I need to talk to you guys because it's a joint venture. She said it's got to be a joint venture. The trucks, I used to sell dump trucks, heavy-duty trucks for Peterbilt. So they're 80,000-pound gross vehicle weight, and they'll carry 80,000 pounds to the quarry. They'll come back empty, but they're carrying 80,000 pounds. That wear and tear on that street, you just can't put blacktop on top of those red bricks that are there. Something needs to be done. And as she said, yeah, they need to dig down 12 inches and fix it. Well, how are you going to reroute all that traffic to get that done? Because I'm not just going to come to you and say, hey, you got a problem and you need to fix it. I have to do my homework and come to you and say, hey, maybe you could think about this, maybe you could think about that. They come out of the quarry, they come down Conshohocken State Road, they turn on Tees Boulevard. It's all industrial, it's all commercial. There's no housing. It's Tees Boulevard, and Danella's on that, and there's a couple other construction companies are on that. They go down Tees Boulevard, loop around Allenwood, make a right at Home Depot and head right down onto the Blue Route. That's coming up. They come up, they get off at the Norristown exit on the Blue Route. They swing around the Pico building. They loop at the loop. They go down Wood past Home Depot on the Tees Boulevard and right up to their quarry. So there is a possibility that there's another. Since you get no revenue for them, why would Conshohocken want to put up with 200-plus trucks twice a day? It doesn't benefit the community. Those trucks do nothing. The police sometimes will stop them and inspect them, but that's chump change as far as revenue. They just cost you grief and aggravation for the 400-plus people that live in the 3 grand buildings and the 20 or so families that live along the 300 block of Elm Street. So there is a possibility. Plymouth probably gets all the tipping fees and everything else since the quarry's in Plymouth Township. You guys get nothing. So we, the citizens that live down there, are paying the grief of aggravation. Most of you have different wards. You have different wards. You don't even, I mean, that's Fayette Street doesn't look like that, or any other street. North Lane, you wouldn't allow that on North Lane, but yet, and I know it's a state highway, but the borough could talk to Mary Jo Daley and the department at PennDOT and figure out a solution. Going up and down the Blue Route takes it all out of Conshohocken. So, you know, that's just something for you guys to consider. Talk to Mary Jo, or talk to Ms. Daley, talk to PennDOT. She told me something was supposed to be done this fall. They were going to do some repaving or something like that. Repaving isn't going to fix that. Those 80,000-pound gross vehicle weight. That road, if you just came over there and stood there for 10 minutes, the noise and that they make, it's horrific. It really is. It's not suitable.
Mr. Zell, I thank you for your information, and it's something that council can look into.
Thank you.
And I will respectfully say also, it is a PennDOT road.
Yep.
And it is a truck route.
Right.
And it was always a truck route.
Yep.
It's not something that we
Nope.
put on the residents
Nope.
after the
No,
fact.
you didn't.
So, and we are very interested always in helping all of our residents, so it is something that we will look into. I don't know if it really is anything that we can do, but I would thank you for your input tonight.
Because that's just an alternative route. You know, the truckers, they'll spend an extra 5 minutes each way, but they won't be rolling in that street. One other quick question. When I was here 8 months ago, I asked about the signs on Fayette Street. It says, you put the sign up and it says, state law, children in, or crosswalks. There is, out on Fayette Street here. You know, the cars have to stop when there's somebody in this. And you said, well, you can't put them on West Elm. I'm wondering, well, why can't you? Because you put them down, somebody was able to put them down by the train station where the people cross from the train station, crosswalk, stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk. That would also be helpful because those traffic lights are good. There's the one traffic light at Maple and Elm. But if they put one of those signs before it on each way, because a lot of people have pets and they walk them across the street. Okay? So thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you very much.
Is Tees Boulevard an actual road now? It's paved road with,
It's paved.
But it's,
Yeah.
but is it a road or is it a
Is it
drive?
dead?
Is it a drive?
Now at the intersection of Danella and their entryway.
I'm just curious if
So that would
it's a dedicated road.
Right, that's
It
what I was
has
wondering.
a Tees Boulevard sign.
Okay.
That would be something that we would have to,
Yeah, we'll have to look into it.
with Plymouth.
On from Brook Road as well. Take Brook all the way up.
Okay.
There also used to be at Ike, you would remember, an exit and an entrance coming off the Borough when they did the bridge. Maybe that could be something that could be looked at also. Because that was pretty nice when they had it there and then they took it away when they redid the bridge. I'm not showing my age, 33.
That's something that we've been talking about.
You're a baby. Go ahead.
Especially when that new office building goes in there, that road's gonna be extremely congested, extremely congested. So if you could get the blue ramp there again, that'd be amazing.
But like he said, we got to talk with PennDOT on that. We can't do nothing with that unless
We have
PennDOT.
talked with PennDOT though, right?
I'm sorry?
We have talked with PennDOT about the truck route.
I think the conversations are still open and still ongoing, trying to solution.
Right,
Okay.
right.
We hear you. Yeah, we hear you.
When is the building supposed to go up at Fayette and
Yeah, well, the Fayette and Elm one,
Yes, and the big,
they're talking about the zoning here.
okay, thank you.
South of the-
That would be slated for 2019,
2020.
or 2020, starting in 2019. Any other public comment?
My name is Anna DeSantis, and I live at 200 West Elm Street in the Grand Buildings. And I wanted to comment on this gentleman's concerns. I'm also concerned about that Elm Street Road. It's actually very hazardous to drive on that road because as you're coming over those bumps, the bumps are so deep that you can lose control of your car. I have actually moved over onto the yellow line area to avoid those bumps and go around, and then turning onto Cobwell Lane is also real bumpy there. The road is really, really bad shape. I contacted the borough, I think it was through the app one time, and they said, well, it's a state road. So I contacted the Department of Transportation, and they said, and they kindly got back to me, and I was impressed. They said that they were planning on repaving the road in August. So August was coming around. I was like, what's the status on the road paving? Oh, it's been pushed to October. So your support would be greatly appreciated because this is where we live. And if we could have your support, I mean, we're trying to do something here. The citizens, we're trying to make an effort. And I just don't think we're strong enough. And I think if we had the borough's support, it would be really appreciated. So that's all I have to say. It's purely coincidental that you and I ended up at this meeting at the same time. And I'm only here because I'm interested in the borough and the happenings. I'm a resident for over 25 years. So I've been around, but I've never been into any one of these meetings. So I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for letting me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Somebody left their cell phone, too. Robert Moore, just wanted to say that I'm glad that we're keeping the Halloween parade tradition together like we've had in the past. But the one thing that is coming to my mind is the Black Friday. We bring Santa Claus up to the old Howell estate. What are we going to do now? I know we talked about it afterwards at one of the last meetings. Are we going to do Marywood Park as we spoke about? Or
Have you discussed it with Ambucks?
I'm meeting with Ambucks next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, yeah.
So we're all supposed to sit down and
I'm
sort of...
supposed to invite you too for that.
Okay, well, I was going to show up anyway, so,
And
yeah.
I know that either way that it's decided,
We're still on board, though. Everybody's still on board.
everybody's still on board.
We'll support.
We'll support either way. How Properties is on board.
Okay.
I have spoken to them, so that is not an issue.
Okay.
They'll be more than happy. It's just what
Depending on who's done.
you guys, as Ambucks, because it is an Ambucks event.
Right, right.
So I would not want to say we want
And
it
if-
this way or that way.
If
That's-
Hal's not ready, we're okay with Marywood.
Oh, we'll absolutely be ready with Marywood if that's what need
And
be.
if everybody irons it out that we want to go to Marywood,
That would be
we
fine.
put a lot of work into that park, so.
Right.
Right.
Well, you don't see any unforeseen reason why we couldn't, correct? Right.
No issues
Right.
at all.
No issues. So either location, I believe for all of council, is fine,
Okay,
okay?
that was an easy one.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as we have it, we're all happy.
Perfect, perfect.
It's a nice
I'll tell
event.
Santa for you.
You do that, please.
Oh, that's yours, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's a very important man when he comes to town.
That's right, it's a big deal.
Mayor Aronson?
I got a bunch of thank yous today. We had our trail safety class at the Brewing Company last Saturday. We had a really nice turnout. We had Sergeant Lennon give a safety class on how to properly use bicycles on the roads and on the trail, and we had a lot of questions just about safety and proper procedures, and it was just really nice to again see the community interacting with our police force. So thank you, Chief, for allowing that to happen. We also had our suicide prevention and awareness talk last week at the community center. We had well over 100 people attend. I heard it was a pretty emotional night. It was pretty touching to see our community come together and have a really important discussion about suicide. Officer Vallone from our police force was there, so thank you again, Chief. And I know how much our administration and Lauren in particular put their time in to make this event happen. So thank you, admin, and please thank Lauren for me. The night could not have happened without all your support, so thank you.
Tina?
I have no updates.
Jane?
No.
Ike?
Yes, I just want to remind everybody this Saturday is Fun Fest. So bring out the kids and come on out and have a great day.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ike. Karen?
No, thank you.
Chief Nance?
October 3rd is National Coffee with a Cop Day. And we have a Coffee with a Cop scheduled from 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. at brunch at 521 Fayette Street. If you're not familiar with Coffee with a Cop, it's a national thing, and it's just that you're supposed to come, no one comes with an agenda, you just sit down and you get to talk to a cop. So that's what I'll be there, and we have people you have to have people trained in Coffee with a Cop too. So we have some people trained in that'll be there, and I'll be there, so.
And I'm sorry, what was that date again?
October 3rd.
October 3rd, okay.
It's a Wednesday.
7:30 to 9:30.
AM.
We plan on running them again, but that'll be on the National Coffee with a Cop Day.
That's a Wednesday, right? The 3rd?
Is it Tuesday or Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Okay, thank you. Great, okay, thank you.
Anyone else? We're good. Meeting adjourned.